All right. I'm just going to go ahead and show my hand here in saying that season 2 of The Mandalorian, in my opinion, was a perfect season of television. Today, I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about each of the 8 episodes in season 2 and lay out why I think it was drastically better than season 1, which I also loved, but it had nothing on this second installment. And I'm going to try to lay out why this season was practically flawless. So we'll just get right into it, talking about episode 1, The Marshal, or as I like to call it, the Tremors episode. So it starts out, Mando heads to Tatooine because he's heard there's a Mandalorian there. And he meets this Marshal, who's not a Mandalorian, but somehow he's come by some Mandalorian armor. And this Marshal is played by Timothy Olyphant. Love Timothy Olyphant. Huge fan of him in everything. Anyway, he said he'll trade his Mandalorian armor if Mando can get rid of this giant sandworm, this krayt dragon that plagues the town. So Mando soon realizes he can't do it alone and eventually convinces the town to team up to eradicate this giant krayt dragon from, basically a sandworm from the movie Tremors. But way more formidable. So they end up defeating the beast with help from the child, and all is well. Mando heads off to his new destination with the Mandalorian armor. And in the final shot of the episode, we get a glimpse of the real Mandalorian who is on Tatooine, and it's Boba Fett. Yeah, hell of a way to blast off a new season. And the episodes only get better from here. Right into episode 2, The Passenger. Now, if episode 1 is the Tremors episode, then episode 2 is definitely the Ridley Scott Aliens episode. And I'm beginning to wonder if there's a trend or a theme here. Like, is everything going to be reminiscent of some earlier science fiction work? Anyway, Mando meets a frog lady after a scuffle with scavengers and agrees to transport her eggs to another system so her husband can fertilize them. Now, they're the last of their kind, so he's literally saving a species from extinction. Now, in exchange, she will give him information as to where he can find some Mandalorians, because he's still searching out Mandalorians, because he thinks that they might lead him to Jedi, and that's where he's trying to get, the child. So during transport, the ship encounters a few X-Wings who demand that Mando land and allow for inspection. He refuses, and an insane ship chase ensues, eventually ending in a crash landing where Mando and friends hide in a Hoth-like ice cave, only to discover that the cave is a nest full of ravenous alien spider eggs that are beginning to hatch. So when it seems hopeless and Mando's completely overwhelmed by these giant spider aliens, the X-Wings appear again at the perfect moment to firebomb the aliens, allowing Mando and the child and the frog eggs to escape. Now, episode 3. Mando and the child are taken prisoner by a group of pirates who plan to feed them to a giant kraken. Like, it's a kraken-like monster. I don't think it's a kraken. And I didn't catch the name of the monster, but you get it. It's a giant kraken, okay? So they want to feed him to the monster and take Mando's Beskar armor. And this is where season 3 gets really fucking fun, okay? Mando and the child are rescued by the very Mandalorians that they've been searching for. At least we think. But these aren't just any Mandalorians. It's 3 Mandalorian women, one of whom is Bo-Katan. She's a prominent character from probably my favorite Star Wars property, which is the animated Clone Wars. After rescuing them, she basically calls Mando a religious fanatic who adheres to the old ways, and even goes so far as to take off her helmet to show that her group of ragtag Mandalorian friends are the new age, right? The new way of thinking. Anyway, in exchange for them telling Mando where to find Jedi, which is where this whole season is supposed to be leading, Mando agrees to help them on a mission to retrieve the Darksaber from Moff Gideon, so that she can return as the rightful heir to Mandalore. In the end, they don't retrieve the Darksaber, but Bo-Katan does tell Mando where to find Jedi, and the Jedi she sends him to look for is Ahsoka Tano. Holy shit. I knew this season was going, like, I knew it was going there, but it was just awesome to finally hear that name. Like, one of the reasons this season is so goddamn good to me is because of all the Clone Wars tie-ins. And I know that makes me biased, being a huge fan of Clone Wars, but, you know, it makes it really easy for me to love what they did with Season 2. All right, right into Episode 4, The Siege. Mando goes back to the planet where Season 1 ended and runs into Greef Karga and Cara Dune again and ends up helping them on a mission. Now, I love this episode. I love these characters, but even more than I love the characters, I love Carl Weathers. I'm one of the biggest Rocky franchise fans ever, and Apollo Creed is one of my all-time favorite characters. So seeing him again is just fucking awesome. And in addition to starring in this episode, fun fact, he also directed it. Now, the action in this episode is insane. I loved it so much. Like, it felt a lot like the original trilogy for me. You know, or something even more recent, Rogue One, which I absolutely loved. Now, the budget for this one had to be crazy. It was a fantastic episode, but as I said before, it only gets better. Every time I think that it's the best episode yet and that they couldn't get better, the next one's always better. Episode 5, The Jedi. Holy shit. It was all about nostalgia in this one. Even more than the previous week, okay? Because this was heavy with Clone Wars. Like, mainly because we finally get to see a live-action Ahsoka Tano. Rosario Dawson brought her to life in glorious fashion. I loved her as Ahsoka. So here's what happens in this episode. A group hires Mando to hunt and kill Ahsoka, but instead he has something else in mind. He's been looking for a Jedi this whole season after all, and now is his chance. He ends up teaming up with her instead and helping her take out the people who were trying to hunt her down. Also in this episode, Ahsoka communicates with the child, and we finally learn his name, and his name is Gogru. She's sympathetic to Mando's mission, but says she cannot train the child because he's too full of fear, anger, and trauma. You know, it's not good to empower someone with that kind of fear and anger and trauma. We've seen that play out with Anakin Skywalker in the past. So she eventually sends Mando on his way and tells him where he might find some other Jedi who may be able to look after Gogru. Just such an awesome episode, and I'm sure we'll be seeing Ahsoka more in the future, but I love this episode so much. I was confident after watching it that now it had to be all downhill, right? For the rest of the season. How could it get any better than live action Ahsoka Tano? I mean, this had to be the crescendo, right? Wrong. Episode 6, The Tragedy. Right off the bat, Boba fucking Fett, ladies and gentlemen. Holy shit. We saw a glimpse of him at the end of episode 1, but now we get full-on awesomeness. Full-on Boba Fett. When Mando and the child, or Gogru now, reach the ancient Jedi site where Ahsoka sent them, they don't find any Jedi. But they do figure out that this is a site that is sacred. And Gogru sends out some sort of force beacon into the galaxy, alerting any Jedi that are left to his presence and calling out to them. As I said, they don't find any Jedi here, but they do run into Boba Fett and his companion, who have been stalking Mando because Boba wants his goddamn armor back, right? That was his armor that he got from the Marshal. So he confronts him, and Mando says that Boba is not a true Mandalorian and doesn't deserve their armor. And so they begin to fight. And also at the same time, the Imperials have arrived. They've been trying to kidnap Grogu, throughout the entire season. They've been trying to catch up to him so they can take him. They want to use him for their own ill will. So madness ensues, and eventually Boba Fett and Mando and friends all team up to fight off the Imperials, led by Moff Gideon from Season 1. But not before the Imperials get their hands on Gogru and escape with him. Episode 7, The Believer. Now, Some of you may not agree with me on this one, but for me, episode 7 was one of the best of the season. We got Bill Burr back, and his performance blew me away. Really powerful. Like, this dude is not only one of the best comedians on the planet, he's also a damn fine actor. And him as Mayfield, it's such an awesome character. It really is. Like, so this episode, it shows us a side of the Empire that we have not seen in the past. It really humanizes them and shows you their perspective for a moment. It's really important to do this with an antagonist, and we don't see that a lot in Star Wars. But it's important. It's important to do this in any storytelling, that you show this human side of the antagonist, so that your protagonist isn't just fighting some mustache twirling evil for the sake of being evil villain. It shows you that when it comes down to it, these are just people fighting for what they believe in. And these Imperials, down at their soldier level, they believe what they're doing is right. Anyway, Mando and company recruit Mayfield, who is currently working in a prison camp, for a mission to infiltrate an Imperial base and gain access to some files that they need to track down Moff Gideon and rescue Grogu. Now, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big car chase guy. I know that they're all the rage, but they just never done much for me. I've never been I love car chases in movies. But this episode, we get a Matrix Reloaded-esque fuel truck chase scene. And we get some really good moral relativism, monologuing from Mayfield. Like I said, damn fine acting by Bill Burr. A lot happens in this episode, and I won't go into every detail, but I will say that I absolutely loved it. And a big part of that was Bill Burr's performance. So, in the end, they get the information they need and are off to find Moff Gideon, but not before gathering some of their old friends for the task at hand. Finally, we've reached the finale. Episode 8, The Rescue. And it may be, in all honesty, the best episode of television all year. Mando and friends confront a horde of dark troopers and Moff Gideon himself on an Imperial ship. Amazing action all around. The dark troopers are legitimately scary. This episode has it all, even before the big reveal at the end. So, one of the biggest features in this episode was the Mandalorian women, and just how awesome it was. So these women infiltrate this Imperial ship. They're kind of leading the charge, and they're just taking out people left and right. It's fucking awesome to watch. Do you remember that scene in Endgame where it was like a girl power moment right at the end? It featured all the female heroes, and it was just this really a little too on the nose, women, yeah, we're women and we're powerful, right? This did the same thing, but so much better. In a way that didn't make you feel like they were trying to convey a message to you, right? It just felt natural and it felt good. You forgot that this was all female warriors storming this Imperial ship. It just felt like people doing some badass shit. It didn't feel like anyone was trying to make any kind of point, hey, look, these are women and they're badass too. It wasn't like that. It was just like, wow, these are some badass warriors, right? It was almost an afterthought. It was like, oh, hey, those were all women leading that charge, wasn't it? And I think that maybe that scene in Endgame and kind of fan reactions to that may have helped, Disney and help, the creators of Mandalorian, the writers for Mandalorian, to dial that back and do it right. This is the way you do diversity, right? You spool it in a way that it doesn't feel forced. It's just natural. And they did it in glorious fashion here. So good. So damn good. Anyway. So that was awesome. And then the fight with Moff Gideon, seeing the Darksaber up against the Beskar steel. We've never seen anything stand up to Kyber Crystal Saber, right? A Kyber Crystal Saber. it was awesome. Like, amazing fight scene. And, the Dark Trooper, right? Okay, so the fight with Moff Gideon in itself was awesome. It was amazing. Between Mando and... So, we've got the women trying to get to the bridge and take over the ship. Meanwhile, Mando is trying to find Moff Gideon and try to find Gogru. And at the same time, these Dark Troopers are being released. And these, like I said, these Dark Troopers are fucking scary, dude. Scarier than any other... villain really that I've seen. Just these heartless automatons, it's scary. And they look truly menacing. So Mando has an incredible fight, with a Dark Trooper, like barely makes it out alive. And it makes you realize just how formidable they really are. Is like truly terrifying. And they look so badass. And at the end, when a whole new regiment is released, the odds of fighting them off are literally not existent. Like, there's no chance for Mando and friends. None. Zero. Until an X-Wing appears. Holy shit. It's a Jedi. But which one? Could it be? Can it be? Nah, no way. The Jedi makes his way on board and starts slicing through Dark Troopers like a hot knife through butter with a green lightsaber, aka Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. But is it really him? This is basically the Darth Vader scene from Rogue One, but longer and somehow even more exciting. In the end, the Jedi reveals himself to be Luke. And it's awesome. Awesome. It was like, almost brought tears to my eyes. It was so amazing. And they did that age regression technology where they actually took, they made him look like Luke would have looked, 5 years after the Return of the Jedi, which is when this takes place. So in the end, Luke agrees to take Gogru with him. And Mando says a heartfelt goodbye, even taking off his helmet to reveal his face. Such an awesome, so good. Just like I said, probably the best episode of TV for all of 2020. Okay, so in an end credit scene, it's revealed that we are getting a Boba Fett series in December of 2021 called The Book of Boba Fett. And if it's half as good as The Mandalorian, I am 100% on board. So, in closing, look, 16 chapters of The Mandalorian and, the child's adventures. While I enjoyed the first 8 chapters of season 1, the next 8 were light years better. And in my opinion, a perfect season of television. Just the way it perfectly built to where you thought it must be the crescendo or getting close to it, right? All the way. A lot of these shows have a lull in the middle. Kind of a more boring episode or two right in the middle of the season. Not this one, dude. Like, this one got better and more exciting with each and every episode all the way up to the very end. And the end was the most exciting part of the entire thing. This is how you do television. And I feel like where I used to wonder if 8 episodes was enough to tell a compelling story, I'm starting to think that 8 episodes is like, might just be the ticket, might be the perfect number of episodes for quality television. Anyway, if you enjoy videos or podcasts like this, here's what I do on this channel. Every day, I try to do it every day. I'm not perfect, but most days I do it. I try to pick a random topic and talk about it. And it's usually entertainment or pop culture related, but I delve into other things too. Politics, personal life stories, commentary on current events, all kinds of things. But I try to post something every day. So if you're into that, if you can vibe with that, if you would like something new in your feed every day or close to every day, then please subscribe for more. And if you decide to stick around, if you decide to subscribe or to the YouTube channel or favorite or follow the podcast, then I will talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks.